Welcome, traveler. Today, I'll take you to a ride in a very interesting part of Roblox, aka the psychological horror games. Psychological horror games on Roblox are a very small community, some of the games out there only having less than 30 people a day. But if those games are so unpopular, why are they the new meta horror on Roblox? I mean, the Mimic or Witch Trick Dad have way more popularity than those games, so why wouldn't they be the new meta horror? That's what I'm gonna explain in this video. I'll tell you how psychological horror games does horror right compared to some others popular game. Why are they the new meta horror for games on the platform, and why even with that, they are very unpopular. So without further ado, take a seat and prepare some snack for your very short, probably, ride in the psychological horror games history. So firstly, what's a psychological horror game? Well, a psychological horror game is a horror game that will scare you, but not by using jump scares like the original one. It will mostly use a disturbing story, audio and graphics to make you feel very bad inside, like a very dark and creepy house in the middle of nowhere, for example. The atmosphere and your own thoughts will make you feel uneasy compared to a normal horror game that will scare you by jump scares to startle the player. Psychological horror games also provide a deeper story and meaning than some other normal popular Roblox games. Let's take the example of the Roblox adaptation of My Eyes Deceive. So, little update, but I couldn't find a Roblox adaptation of the game, so for some reasons. But I've played the game, so it's two endings and I'll tell you what I know about it, you know. In My Eyes Deceive, we play as a child who seems to be in a basement. This basement has everything of a real house, aka a bed, a kitchen, and such. You'll soon meet someone that says he's your dad, and we get to know the story. We apparently got in that basement to protect ourselves from monsters that started to appear at the surface world, and your dad is here to protect you and kill some monsters. I'll not spoil the rest of the game so you can maybe find a playthrough of it, or play the game by yourself. But that's a great example of what I'm meaning. A good story and your own thoughts are scaring you compared to some random FNAF games or stuff like that scares you with jump scares. So, what makes those types of games better than normal horror games? Well, in a normal horror game, let's take FNAF as an example, the game doesn't actually make you feel real fear. Instead, the game startles you for a short amount of time with a jump scare, which works in most cases. But real fear isn't just a startle, it's a whole feeling that you can have for several minutes or hours depending on the case. And real fear isn't just startling, it's making the player scared, but not of what there is, but of what's to come, because the greatest fear is the one we imagine in our head. What is behind that creepy door? What would happen if I go left and not right, like they told me to? Those questions in your mind tells you and making you feel stressed and actually fearful, worried, scared. Jump scares doesn't give the player that feeling since it's only for a brief moment, but psychological horror games does by giving you a story and soundtrack to make you guess and worry about what's to come in the near future. For example, the game Tim's Computer. In that game, you buy a new computer and do a lot of things on it. However, in the night, you feel like you're being watched and so decide to check on the lockers every night. And it's that feeling what will happen if I open the closet? That makes you stressed and worried and so makes you feel real fear. You're actually worried of what will happen if you open the closet, and yet when you open it, there's nothing. But you're still scared when you open one because you're still worried that something will be after you right after. So that's the feeling that makes me think psychological horror games are better than normal ones. Okay, I get it, but if they are so good at making you feel real fear, why are they so unpopular? Well, it's because of a major problem in a lot of Roblox games, and its replayability. You see, even if those games gets only around 50 players per day, they still have a total visits count that can go up to millions. So, why a game with millions of visits have only 50 players a day? Well, it's because of what I mentioned earlier, replayability. Some of the games out there like Blade Ball, Blox Fruits, Pet Simulator 99, and so much more gives you a reason to actually replay when you leave, like getting more kills, grind more levels, do quests, get new abilities, 100% of the game, all those things that kinda forces you to rejoin and play the game again. Some games out there does that even in the horror style, like the Mimic that gets frequent updates, and same for Weird Streak Dad. But when you compare it to psychological horror games, it gets often a single player to give you the sense of loneliness. But because the game has nothing else to offer when you finish it, people just have no reason to play it again after they're done. Millions of people have played Tim's Computer or Who Am I, or even stereotypical Lobby, but when you finish the game, you have no side quest or anything to play it again. That's why even with the concept in the world like life purposes, your psychological horror game will always end up like all the others, a pile of 50 players a day, because the peak of popularity has ended, and the game's having such low amounts of players, it's kinda harsh sometimes because that means they are harder for a normal player to find them in recommendation page, which sucks. That's why I often suggest you to use Roblox games that makes you search good games and fresh, new games so it's easier to find them. However, being so unpopular isn't a bad thing because that means even the smallest community can achieve big goals in Roblox, and it can give you hope to people like you that want to create psychological horror games, and that's very great. However, even if being so unpopular means a bad thing, small communities can reach good things. It can give people hope of creating their own game. That's why being unpopular sucks, but can help in your growth. That even if you also reach the 50 players a day, your game will be remembered. And that will be forever. So that's all for this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and also I do recommend you to play some psychological horror games out there. I personally suggest to play My Eyes Deceive, Tim's Computer, and a stereotypical hobby because they're the most popular and the best one out there. So for more videos like this, make sure to turn on the bell to not miss any new videos of mine, and with that, I'll see you in the next video, and good luck in your horrific adventure, traveler.